POWA and the People, Democracy of the Airways on Channel 5. Sponsored by Panelists, serving Belize for over 74 years. The Ministry of Immigration, managing migration for the security and socio-economic benefit of Belize.
I encourage all Belizeans to vote.
The UDP, and you cannot have two UDPs.
The time is now for us to have participatory leadership.
Good night, everyone, and welcome to POWA and the People. Tonight, we are going to be diving into the heart of our democracy as we ask, are our elections free and fair? Can the opposition overcome their divides? And are young voters coming to tell us what matters to them most? Of course, we have joining us our lovely contributors tonight. We have Dr. Harold Young and Ms. Demi Williams. Hey. Good night, everyone. Night. How are we feeling?
Fantastic.
Feeling good. How do we feel after the last show?
I think we had a great show the last time, so definitely excited to dive into this one.
I am excited as well. And of course, we want to also welcome our viewers as they're joining us live on our social media. Don't forget, guys, to join in on the conversation using hashtag POWA2025. And of course, we're waiting for your calls. You can definitely call to share your opinions. If you have questions for our contributors and our guests, and you can call at 280-0016. And we're going to be waiting for your calls. We're going to have a lot of time to have some discussions here or there. We have these experts, and I say experts, to talk to us tonight. But of course, we are going to go to the viewers and the voters on the street, as they tell us what information sources do they get their election data from.
Usually we get it through the official news medias, practically mainly Facebook, because that's what's modern right now, and that has everything updated. They have a couple of pages that are not really official, so these are just chit chats. But officially from the news medias are where we get it from.
So personally, I get my information through Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, and do you believe that you can trust the information that you see on social media?
Well, only by following official accounts that share public, political information, because then they have people that would give fake news and information.
I don't watch much Facebook. I watch more news. Okay. I'm not into Facebook much. I don't like it,
Well, basically, if the parties will go wrong, when they campaign about, you'll get information from them. And apart from that, maybe if you go by the office, drop by the office, you get information too.
Wow, what do we think?
Interesting. Facebook surfaced as a source. We were a little perplexed initially when they said Facebook is the official source of information. Well,
is Meta giving our news now?
Yeah, but I think what they're saying is that that's the platform they use to access
the official social media media outlets.
Yes,
no?
so
and
that's
I think since COVID, that's kind of been the status quo, though, because
before COVID, I think
it really hit off because everyone started streaming their news off of Facebook and Instagram mostly, and outside of traditional media houses, you have a lot of social media news outlets as well that share information on a regular basis.
Yeah. But how well, and you as the social media commentator, Demi, how well do you think our viewers and persons that are scrolling on social media, how well do they research or vet the source page that they're getting this from?
I think the researching and the vetting is where we might fall a little bit short. We don't do a lot of researching, and then even some of the social media pages, they're not doing a lot of vetting and researching on their end either. So for me, I try to look for the traditional media houses, not because I'm on Channel 5, I'm being biased, but definitely looking for News 5's Facebook page, Channel 7, Love FM, and I can trust those sources because, they've been through it, they've vet their
They've done
information
their
properly.
investigations.
Not discrediting the other media houses that are on social media, but for me personally, these ones are the tried and true to get the accurate information.
Yeah.
But it's also telling the whole society and all the centers of power, I guess, and all the, where they should put their stuff out.
Yeah.
Whether it's a civic organization or it's the government or anybody, that's where they need to put the stuff out.
It also
That's where people are
speaks
looking.
to how much persons out there really understand the foundations of our democracy, really, and I think that we should get into that right now. And Harold, I know this was a passion for you when we were discussing the history of Belize and its democracy, but get into the foundation of our democracy, our elections, really, with the fairness and integrity of everyone's mind, what do you think really affects the voters' confidence when it comes to the voting process in Belize?
So I think there are a number of categories to talk about. So if you talk about the probably easiest category to talk about is process. So our election process is very, very good. We have designated, anybody can campaign, anybody can put up their name to run, right? Anybody can form a party, anybody can put out a flyer, that sort of thing. So that builds up the election. On election day, registration is very easy to vote. Registration to vote is easy. There's no restrictions on just have to be very few restrictions rather. We talked about you have to be resident of age, mental health, that sort of thing, right? Then the election day process is very straightforward. Right, we've never really had a major incident where boxes disappeared or hijacked or burnt in a fire or something. Or there have been recounts which are normal, but on those measures, and the results have never really been in dispute. We never really have a major dispute about outcomes. Results like what Guyana had not that long ago. They had a huge mess in Guyana with their outcomes. It took a long time. But then there are other ways. If you look at it in other angles, there are things like, alleged vote buying, right? That's one thing. Does that make it fair? So those who have more money can buy more votes, right? So allegedly. And then the issue of registration of voters. So moving voters from one area where they don't live, where people don't live. And that's sort of like a wink and a nod by the parties because they both do it. At least allegedly, they both do it, and so that occurs, right? And then.
But is that a concern for the voters?
It used to be one for me.
Okay.
I registered in Port Loyola, and it was no secret that in previous elections that there were a substantial amount of voters registered in Port. But they lived well outside of Belize city limits.
Right.
So it skews the numbers because even if I rally my neighborhood behind me, I can't go to Cotton Tree and rally there.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
That's
well, true. And so that actually bleeds into, or I want to use the word bleed, that actually filters into does my vote count?
Right.
Does my one vote count?
And I would really like to pose that exact same question to our viewers. Where do you get your election information from? Tell us using our social media hashtag POWA2025. And of course, what are some of your concerns about our voting process? Do you feel secure and safe about the entire process? Are you like Demi that, perhaps I need to vote where I'm registered in, or how do I go about changing my address so that I'm able to know where I can vote? Because I'm not sure if viewers really understand or voters really understand that by you having to travel to another location to cast your vote, your representative is not really representing you.
Exactly.
Correct.
Right?
And can you rightfully complain about things happening in the area that you actually do live in when you didn't cast a vote in that area?
You didn't bother to register that area and cast a vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we would really like for you to tell us your thoughts. And of course, remember, our phone lines are open. You can always call us at 280-0016 to answer these questions or give us your comments. But I would also want to ensure that our viewers and our soon-to-be voters understand that everything that we are discussing, it lies at the balance of the way that they're going to vote. Right? When we're talking about the fairness of our election, the integrity of our electoral process, when we're talking about an opposition, And of course, I would also like to point out that for tonight, we are going to be having two very important guests joining us. We are going to be having the Deputy Chairman of the EBC, Mr. Albert August. Deputy Chairman of the UDP, apologies, Mr. Albert August. And of course, we are also going to be having one of the youth leaders, Ms. Dominique Norales. They're going to be joining us later on in the show tonight. And of course, we're going to be having these conversations with them as well. But moving on into the theme of our conversation, fairness in the entire electoral process of Belize, from its foundation to now.
Yeah, so I think the fundamental challenge I think our system has, and it's not just this election, it's the way it's structured, is if we're having elections, if a party, any party, wins each seat by one vote.
Okay.
So the 31 seats, each one is won by one vote. Now people say, oh, that will never happen. Well, okay, just bear with me for now.
The fact is that
this is a hypothetical scenario.
The current system allows it to be possible.
It allows it to be possible. That means that a party could win all 31 seats, have every seat in the House of Representatives, but only get 50.001% of the vote, because they only got 31 out of 140,000 votes cast. They only got 31 more than the opposition, than any other party, and then they have absolutely no representation in the parliament. So I think that's a big flaw in our system.
Yeah. And how would you suggest, because I know you're big on reformation, what would be the best way for us to address that?
Well, I mean, there are a number of ways to do it, and everybody's going to say, well, proportional representation, which there are many ways to do proportional representation, but one way would be to have seats that are on a list system, what's called a list system, which means they're at large. So you have, I'll make this up, you'll have 10 seats that are at large, so everybody in the country can vote for these 10 seats. Anybody, you could vote, and every party puts up 10 candidates, 10 nominees in their list. And then whatever percentage of the vote you get those seats. So if a party gets, if the party gets, aggregated across the country, gets 60% of the vote, they get 6 out of 10. That would be a very simplistic way of doing it, which I wouldn't recommend, but 60%, so they get 6 seats.
Okay. Yes.
Right? And then the other part about that is that those 6 seats are then responsible not to a specific constituency. They're responsible to the whole country.
Okay.
It's like the city votes. It's like the city elections.
Okay.
City councils are not responsible to any particular constituency.
It's across the board.
It's across the board because they're at
so
large.
Overall,
but we don't have that at the national level.
No.
We don't have that. So what we have are area representatives, so everybody's representing primarily their constituency. Nobody actually has a national electorate.
No, we don't.
Right?
No.
Not even the Prime Minister.
No,
the Prime Minister comes from a constituency, and that's where the first loyalty lies. Because if you don't win your seat, you cannot be even considered for Prime Minister.
Exactly. Right.
So you have to focus on that.
And this is why it's also a big issue if your constituency's winner doesn't have a portfolio. Like if they're not given a portfolio, because resources then would be shifted out.
Resources, yeah. And I was going to say that comes into whether elections are fair, and I was going to talk about another category of that is we're going into elections, there's something called incumbent advantage. And that could be a number of things. It could be the name, so the person has won, so everybody knows that person won.
Right.
So you don't have to deal with name recognition because they know you won. Yeah. Right? The other thing is that when you're the incumbent in the ruling party, you don't have the resources of the state. So you get to, whatever project, I'm not saying doing it illegally, I'm just saying whatever projects are done by the state, you get to go cut the ribbon.
Yeah.
Right? You get to go cut the ribbon.
You get the photo op.
You get the photo op.
You are the symbol
of it.
And we're seeing a lot of photo ops.
Yes, and that, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that that's the way it works. That's how it is. And then the last thing is that we do the idea that the Prime Minister gets to pick when the elections are.
He has that right.
He has that right.
As opposed to a fixed date.
Privilege.
So privilege.
Yes.
No, they have the right. Don't have the right at law. It's illegal. It's not a tradition.
Okay.
It's in law. The Prime Minister gets to
to do it.
Signals like the data and recommend it to the Governor General.
Wow.
So it's not a tradition. It's a law.
Okay.
And so the party in power then can then know, well, we made it around this time. They can do things, start preparing, and then it comes on, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to having a fixed date where everybody knows ahead of time.
Like
This
our
is what it's
neighbors
going
in
to
the
be.
north that
Like
have the
and
fixed
many
date.
countries have it. A lot of
Right,
countries have
right.
it too, but yes, the neighbors in the north. Yeah.
Demi, as
That's a big
as a social media contributor and as a young voter, you know, are these the types of conversations that we have? I have to.
No, nerd, I'm the nerd.
Well, it's not a nerdy thing because
let me be fair.
It's
Let me
real.
be fair.
It's real.
In the circles that I navigate, yes, these are the conversations that we're having, and they're very refreshing to know that I have a cohort of friends that we could sit and we could discuss these things. But don't use my example as the status quo, because I am not so sure if that's the same thing that's being translated over. As a social media personality per se, I live in the comment sections reading what other people are saying on news posts, and some people might say that's the most dangerous thing for your mental health.
Yes.
it is.
But it's a part of the job.
Yes.
And there are a lot of other people, I would say, this not really the interest there as much, or it kind of comes off like they're jaded per se with everything that's been going on. So they just rather focus on something else. It's not really hitting for them the way how it would for other groups of people, you know. And to me, that's where the concern lies, which is why I'm very glad that tonight we're going to be discussing more on the youth perspective going into this election, because we need more of it.
Because to be very honest, you know, Harold, your entire explanation of the electoral process and its foundation and beliefs, I never really thought about. I never really thought it. I think I thought about the U.S. government a lot more than I would think about the way that we vote, because you're absolutely right. I vote in Belmopan and I will vote for my area rep, and I will vote for, perhaps in the municipality, I will vote for my council, but I don't vote for the prime minister. And I don't, you know, not directly.
Not directly.
You know?
And that's something I brought up in the 2020 elections to the candidates that were vying in my area. Yes, you to come because you want I give you the vote, but do you believe in the leader that you're rallying behind? Because if I vote for you, I mean, we don't directly vote for Prime Minister, yes, but technically speaking, a vote for the person that you support in your area is also a vote for their leader. If I help you win this seat, that's one seat towards the person that you're rallying behind. So what's your confidence in the person that you're rallying behind?
But here's the fly in the ointment with that. And I agree with you, because I would say the Honorable George Cadle Price, that was a big draw. He campaigned across the country and people voted for their rep. Voted for the PUP candidate because they liked him. Right? He was a big draw in that sense, right? So that's true. That's true. However, what I think people don't think about, and when I say, they say, well, it will never happen, and then it never happens until it happens, right?
Right.
Where a party will say, our leader is Mr. Smith or Ms. Jones, and we're going to election. But when elections are over, if that party wins, there is no legal anything binding saying that person has to be prime minister. If we're having election, let me give you a concrete example. Let's use what we have right now.
You carry me to school right now.
No,
I know. I keep forgetting we're on a show, and
we're having elections on March 12th.
Yes.
All right. It's a Thursday, right?
Yes.
Okay. On a Thursday. It's a Thursday. A Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
I'm sorry. It's a Wednesday. So it's between Wednesday and say Monday, because the last elections in 2020, the elections were either Wednesday or Thursday, and the cabinet people were sworn in on the Monday. So let's use that as the tempting, right? So Wednesday elections, if by Monday, when they're registering, John Briceño says, I don't want to be prime minister. He tells, they win, and he tells them, I don't want to be prime minister. Let's have a meeting. We'll have a meeting and we'll decide out of those who are elected, because only those who are elected could be prime minister.
Right.
So how many ever it is, and we will pick, you have to pick somebody else, because I don't want to be it. If that goes down and somebody else is picked, there is nothing that I could say as a voter when I said, well, I'm a voter in my constituency because I'm like Johnny Briceño and he's not a prime minister, so I want back my vote. No, I have no legal, nobody has any legal recourse. That could happen.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And I'm not saying it will happen, I'm just saying that's the kind of system that we have. Where
The possibility
the
there
possibility
is.
I mean, nobody thought that this would happen with UDP either.
Yeah.
Until it happens.
Until
here we are, right?
Yes.
And here we are. So I think we have to be aspirational in how we want the system to look, that we'll be able to manage crisis. It can't manage every single possibility, but there are some obvious things. Like this one is very obvious, right?
Right. And
that
so
this could happen.
And that's a almost near reality.
Yes. And that's why there is need for reform, like you rightfully mentioned.
Yes.
But I wonder how we would go into, breaking this type of foundation and ensuring that we can reform the way we structure our government or the way that we vote. Really, I mean, it's not ideal to really discuss it.
No, it's a bit much for now. But yeah.
But I really would peg that to our voters. I mean, our voters and our viewers. Think about it. Think about reform. Did you know all of this information that Dr. Harold Young just explained? Because personally, I never learned that at school.
How many elections we
and how many? Yeah, very, very true. So it is something to think about when you are going up, when you're thinking about your representatives, when you're thinking about how you're going to cast your vote, which is also something we're going to discuss later on in this show.
Absolutely.
But we do have to take a very quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have our first guest sitting on the table with us. We have Mr. Alberto Agas, who is the Deputy Chairman of the United Democratic Party. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
February is all about Honda. Get special pricing and discounts on all Honda products. Enjoy up to 25% off select Honda products and 20% off Honda parts. Don't forget your B-Bucks whenever you make your purchase. There will also be a bike rally throughout the streets of Belize City, Blue Creek, and Spanish Lookout on February 8th, 15th, and 22nd respectively. All participants will get free oil change. Check out our Facebook page for more details. Love your Honda. It's all about deals and discounts on Honda products throughout the month of February. Only at Benquip Equipment Parts Service.
Belize introduced its new electronic passport in 2022 through the launch of the Electronic Passport Issuance and Control System, EPICS. The e-passport includes an electronic chip that safeguards the holder's personal information and photograph. It also features a verification mechanism compatible with biometric systems such as smart gates at international borders. The passport's design reflects national pride, showcasing Belizean landmarks and symbols. It incorporates 26 modern security elements to prevent fraud and corruption. The introduction of the e-passport aims to enhance security, improve processing efficiency, and reduce application backlogs, benefiting Belizeans both domestically and abroad. The Ministry of Immigration, strengthening national sovereignty, security, and socio-economic development.
This is POWA and the People, and if you're joining us right now, we have our first guest tonight. This is Mr. Alberto Agas, the Deputy Chairman of the United Democratic Party. Good evening, sir. How are you to feel?
Feeling good.
Feeling good? Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening to Belize, your viewers.
Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Agas. So, I want to lay the foundation for you, right? We are going to be discussing the UDP factions tonight. We are also hoping that you could give us some insight on the party colors and, trying to get unity back into the party. So with all of this that is happening within the UDP, the division, the colors, the symbols, if you will, or lack thereof of unity in the party, it's confusing the voters. What do you have to say to bring back confidence into your supporters?
Well, first of all, the situation that the UDP is going through right now is not nothing new to a political party in opposition. You all will recall the major infighting that happened within the PUP when they were in opposition, and to the extent where nobody wanted to lead the PUP. They offered it to Marcus Pat. Marcus Pat said no. They offered it to several other persons, and they said no, and they even went down to offering the party to a lawyer. In fact, he was saying that if you don't want it, I will take it. And then somebody said, hold on, no, they better
August, we're not here to discuss it.
I'm just saying,
no, but I'm just saying, no, but I'm just saying that it's not,
see, because people harp on what is happening in the UDP. It is nothing new.
But we're facing
it happens to political parties.
These large parties, they do have their disagreements and the inner politics that
But I just wanted to set the record straight. That it's nothing new to the UDP.
The record wasn't crooked.
That's been happening.
We're facing an election. The voters are confused. I had somebody today tell me that I am confused.
Yes.
Because of the split in the party. And so we face the person or voters, we're not sure yet till nomination day, could face a ballot with a PUP standard bearer, 2 UDP standard bearers, and another party, and some independents. So you could have, right? And so I think that's something that needs to be addressed. I mean,
well, you see, when you go down that road, we tend to underestimate the intelligence of the Belizean voter.
No, I want you to clarify for them. We're not saying not intelligent. Let's talk about the UDP. Let's not talk about the voters yet. Let's talk about the problems the UDP is facing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Like I said, it's nothing new to a political party in opposition. It happens, right? Yes, there's a divide with it. It's common knowledge.
Yes.
What is happening with the UDP right now, and if I could respond in terms of the color, Section 15.4 of the Representation of the People Act, Chapter 9 of the Laws of Belize, specifically addresses that matter. And at Section 4, subsection 4 of 15, it talks about the assignment of colors. The Elections and Boundaries Commission, which is made up of 5 persons, all 5 appointed by the Governor General, 3 on the advice of the Prime Minister, and 1 of which is the chairman, and 2 on the advice of the leader of the opposition. That is where we stand right now. So when there are situations where 2 candidates select the same color, then if they cannot come to an agreement as to who gets that color, then the commission makes the decision and allots color to them. In the current scenario, the commission met on Wednesday.
Yes.
They made, in my view, I'm a serving member of the commission also.
Yes.
They made, in my view, a premature decision. We have not reached that bridge yet.
Okay.
We reach that bridge on the 24th of February, next Monday, on nomination day. As the situation now stands, that will be a no say or a no way in 20 of the 31 constituencies. Because when nomination is completed, there's only going to be 1 candidate applying for the red color. So there'll be no need for any symbol there. The blue and the red, because there will not be 2 different red. So you cannot, there will only be 1 red.
Okay.
So are you telling us that there will be the 2 factions will come together and agree that?
No, sir.
So how could?
In 20 of the 31 constituencies, there will only be 1 PUP, 1 UDP, and maybe independents. There's no independent as far as we know who are applying for the red color.
Okay.
Take like for example.
So who is the UDP applying?
Yes.
Who's UDP that's applying that will get assigned red?
Take like for example, in the Corozal North constituency, there's only the fellow Castillo from the PUP and Ugo Pat.
Oh, you're referring to the constituencies where the other faction did not necessarily put up a person there.
So the PUP will apply for blue, and the other candidate, the UDP candidate, will apply for red.
Okay, but then take...
I mean, I understand what you just said, but when you take that out into other constituencies where there are multiple candidates, that doesn't make any sense.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. In 20 constituencies, that does not apply. Because there will only be one candidate applying for the red.
Which would be who? Who is applying? Who would be that candidate applying? From which
It depends
sector?
on the constituency. The UDP, it depends on the constituency.
Okay. Let's bring on the brass
You see, you're
tacks.
perpetuating the division within the party, right?
Yes.
There are 20 constituencies where only one person will be applying for the red. The nomination form has 5 different columns. The last column on the right side deals with color. Ask you what color you want. And on that nomination form, the candidate will say, I want red. And there will be no other candidate on that form that will apply for the red.
Okay.
So one red will be there.
So you have, for 20 constituencies, it's red and
Red and blue.
Just red and blue. And the latter would have
And the other 11 constituencies, like for example in the Albert constituency, in the Messop constituency,
Yes.
there will be 2 reds.
Two
2
reds.
persons will be applying for the red.
Okay, and so how
And then the commission comes together and decide if they... Right.
Okay.
Oh, the way you said it initially,
I was a little
completely
confused.
different.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
a little bit, but thank you so much for
Thanks for
clarifying.
Yes, thank
that
you.
for sure.
Okay.
All right, and so as we are...
But I mean, this voters go by color a lot, right? They like that. That's important. So in 11, what color does the other person get who doesn't get the red?
The blue?
No. Albert. You want to use Albert. We have
2 of them.
We have Miss Catus who will be blue. You have Miss
Tracy, who's red, and then you have Mr. Jose, who's also technically red too.
Well, he's asking. I would imagine he's asking for red too.
Yeah.
So, how will the commission decide? And if the commission picks one out of those 2 for red, what color does the other one get?
No. I said that the commission made a premature decision at this last meeting on Wednesday, where if both 2 persons are applying for the red, then the commission will apply the red to both of them, but with different symbols.
That's
in
where
the
the
red.
That's what the symbols come in.
Okay, so everybody will be happy with the color.
Although that whole situation is opened for judicial review.
Okay.
Because if you read Section 15, subsection 4 of the ROPA, it talks about 3 options you have. You have to choose one color. If you don't want to choose one color, you can choose multiple colors.
Okay.
Or symbol.
No color and just a symbol.
Right? Color, colors, or symbol. Nowhere in that piece of legislation does it say color and symbol. So when you have a symbol, it doesn't come with a color, because there's no and symbol. There's color, colors, or symbol.
So there's a possibility.
That is open for judicial review.
What do you mean by open for judicial review?
Well, a court will need to might decide, because one of the party can say, that you don't have no authority to assign a color and a symbol to us.
So you're foreseeing, this is interesting, so you're foreseeing that come nomination day, names go in, the process of assigning colors, and somebody who gets a color or symbol that they don't like will go to court between February 24th and March 12th?
The law is set in such a way that the Prime Minister sets a day for election, and then the election day must be held not less than 15 days before nomination and not more than 21 days. So after nomination in this instance, there are 16 days before the next election. So between that time, then the color situation will be solved.
But when you said judicial review, you are saying that if somebody doesn't like the assigned color or symbol, between the 24th and the 12th, they may go to court.
They may. It depends on.
But you're not definitively stating that we're going to.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
There's a possibility.
There is a possibility for it, because the law does not.
So,
Okay,
so the
Provide
clear
for a
So the
Yes,
final, so this is not the final decision with the symbols.
No,
No,
because also in between our nomination, one of the factions decided, okay, we'll go for a different color, then everything is
Well, yes.
is
Yes,
put
they-
aside.
they don't ask for red.
Is put
Yes.
aside.
Yes.
But of course, after nomination, then if more than one candidate applies for the red, then at that point in time, the commission will request for them to choose a symbol.
Yes.
And if they choose a symbol, of course, it will be to their.
So the section of the UDP led by Mr. Barrow will put in for red, will request red for his candidates, for the candidates. Okay.
Demi?
And then, you know, Tracy's faction also mentioned that they're pushing for the red
For
too.
the
So the
red.
jury's still out on how that's going to play out
The result.
leading into. So
And in its premature decision, the commission has said that it will assign both parties red, but with a different symbol. What can I do?
okay.
So you're, but one,
Yeah.
so you're saying the law says A, B, or C, not A, B,
And or C.
And
to choose from A, B, or C. It doesn't say that. You're saying the law says it can only be A, B, or C. It doesn't
Right.
say you can choose. It can assign A, B, or C. Is that what you're saying?
You choose your color on nomination day.
No, I understand.
Right.
No,
Okay.
we get that.
Right.
We get that. We
Yes.
get that. We get that.
We're trying to
But
get-
we're trying to get what you're saying. Are you saying that the law says the commission can assign A, B, or C?
Right.
It can assign A, B, or C,
yes.
In the event that.
or
they
it can it can assign symbol. It can assign representation between A, B, and C.
Right.
In the event that they choose the same color.
correct.
Right.
Demi?
Okay.
Well, that means you can have and that, from what you just said, that means legally, from what you just said, the language you used, it means that they can get a color and a symbol. That's what you've just agreed. That's what you've just.
Well, I don't know if I'm
confirmed.
coming across properly to you, right?
But sir, as a member of the commission, you're a member of the commission,
Sir, that's what
so
I'm
we would
saying,
hope
but I
you
don't
would
know
be real clear.
how much more I can.
Yeah.
Sir,
Right.
15 states that the commission, in the event that there is that agreement.
We've
Yes.
gotten beyond
Yes.
that. We've
Okay.
gotten beyond that.
Okay, so I'm
We're talking
saying-
about the assignment.
Right. I am saying that if you read the letter of the law,
Yes.
I'm no lawyer, but if
Yes.
you read the letter of the law,
Yes.
there's nowhere in section 15(4) that has the word and.
But does it say does it say choose from or assign this
Maybe you
or
might
this?
want to read the section of.
No, I'm asking you. You're the commissioner.
That's what I'm saying. I told you it already.
Yeah.
I told you already, right?
So you're not sure?
We have to
No,
switch
man,
gears.
no,
We
man.
have to switch gears to something else because we're going to be here all night.
Right.
Demi?
As I was saying before,
Yes, please.
Yeah.
since on the 24th and thereafter, we'll have more to discuss on that
Yes.
to see to what is decided. To shift gears a little bit. Because the only reason why we're having this conversation is because there is a fracture within the UDP.
Right.
And I'm curious, and I know other prospective voters would be curious too, how this leadership dispute impacts the party ability to present a strong opposition or a strong government. Because let's say, for instance, the member from Mesop, he wins his seat for the UDP, and the member for UDP 1 or 2, depending on who we're talking about, for Albert wins their seat, then technically they would still be either a part of the majority government or a part of the opposition.
Right.
How does this current disagreement affect the party from operating as a whole, regardless on what side of the floor they're sitting?
Okay. Well, in terms of the amount that any one of the faction wins, the leader of the opposition is determined, or is the person who enjoys the majority support of the majority of the opposition members.
Indeed.
In other words, let's say Shine wins 10 seats and Tracy wins 6. Then if they form a coalition of 16 members, then they form the government.
Yes. Yes.
Right? And in that case, when they go to choose the prime minister, the 10 persons who are with Shine will select him as the prime minister, and he will have the majority and becomes the prime minister.
Suppose it's only 2. Suppose it's Shine and Tracy. Suppose we win 2 seats, which is a possibility. I'm not
it is,
saying it will happen.
Of course,
what would happen?
In the event that 1-1, I am not sure what would happen in that event. Because of course they will vote for it themselves, so there will be a 1-1.
Or even if you have a perfect split.
If you have a perfect split, but they get the support of each. One person gets each one gets one. You have 4.
I mean, regardless, the narrative.
No, and I bring this up because it kind of follows what we were saying about that the structure of our system engenders some instability. It's not clear about what should happen when these things happen, and that's part of the reason why I talk about reform. And and this is a classic example of where you could come to a bottleneck, right?
Yes.
Which is an eventuality. Yeah, which could be.
It's very unprecedented. So, I mean, I'll always go back to the fracture in it, but still, the one narrative that's being placed forward by either side of the UDP is that there's still one UDP. We're still, I've been hearing that, still one UDP regardless. So with that, even though that there's one, but there's 2, what clear, cohesive message is the UDP sending that can resonate with the voters right now?
Well, that message is loud and clear across this country. The high cost of living, the high price of fuel, the inadequate medical services in this country. You see various segments of government standing up against the hardships that they're facing by this current administration. And that is the message that is going out there across this country. The people of this country are punishing under this administration.
Do you have, go ahead.
So I remember in 2020, before the Honorable Dean Barrow had finished off his tenure as Prime Minister, he mentioned that, and very candidly he mentioned that he kind of felt sorry for any government who would have taken the position after him, given the current state of not just Belize's economy, but the world economy. So then, are we then being too harsh on the PUP government that was formed in that particular election, considering that even the UDP's current leader believed that anyone would have had an uphill climb?
We need to take that on the concept of where we were at that time. This nation and the world was facing COVID, the uncertainty of COVID.
I'm not to find a point on it. Sorry. Hold on. Just so you are clear when you make a statement. The statement that she's referring to that the Prime Minister said, the Prime Minister Barrow said, was said 2 years before elections were called.
Yes, sir.
There was no COVID. So
his reference,
I don't know. No, but his reference was
saying
not
in
talking
line,
about
as
COVID.
far as I know,
no.
It was said in line with what was happening in COVID,
no, it
the
was said
uncertainty
2 years
of
before.
COVID.
It was said 2 years before
He
the end of his term.
He may have said it quite a bit.
Yes, 2 years before the end of the term.
Right. Well, I recall him saying it in the twilight at the tail end of his administration when COVID was rocking this world and there was global uncertainty. And at that time, we were borrowing, according to the then opposition, we were operating a government borrowing $1 million per day. Today, we are borrowing $3.8 million per day. There's no COVID. If you listen to the government, the economy is doing well, and yet we are borrowing almost $4 million per day.
So then
that is the reality of the situation.
So under what mandate does the UDP fly under? And I know this, you all haven't put out a manifesto as yet, right? But what is the mandate? What is the philosophy of the United Democratic Party coming in? I understand the economy is one of the barring issues to tackle.
Right.
What I'm asking is, how are you going to convince the larger Belizean population to vote for you? Yes.
Right. I am hoping that this election would make obsolete a manifesto to the people, because a manifesto is just a pile of words meaning nothing. Look at the Plan Belize manifesto. Well, see, impressive. And the people grabbed it and went and voted overwhelmingly for the PUP.
They voted overwhelmingly for the best is yet to come as well. That was a brilliant manifesto.
No, but we lost, right? 25 to 6, 26 to 5. They came out with a brilliant manifesto, and the people grabbed it hook, line, and sinker and voted for it.
So how is the voter to
and
decide
so I am saying, I am hoping that this election will make obsolete a manifesto, because all you have is a pile of promises to the people and you do nothing. The situation, and I heard you loud and clear saying about how this message will resonate to the Belizean voter.
Yes.
But the voter,
the vast majority of Belizean voters are taking a licking under this administration.
Yeah, but how do I decide as a voter to vote for a UDP candidate when you are saying that manifestos are obsolete? Plans are stated, let me use the word manifesto, a stated plan. A stated plan of what you want to do, is those things are obsolete because they're just a bunch of words on paper. How do I transfer my, or assign my trust in a party that doesn't tell me how they're going to do what they're going to say they're going to do?
Or if they have concepts of a plan.
Yeah.
There's only one message
Okay.
that needs to go out there to the Belizean people, the vast majority of the Belizean people, one single message. And that message is the next government of this country is going to make life better for them.
But I know.
I have a question.
That's very problematic. That's very problematic.
I have a question, right?
That's extremely problematic.
So,
you know why? You know why? That was created by this administration, and the way how this administration treats the Belizean people. Let me give you an example.
But sir, hold on. This is not a campaign thing. This is about you. It is about a campaign thing, but it's not a campaign pointing. We want to know what UDP will do, and you were saying you don't have to tell us what you'll do. More than your life will be better. More than life will be better, but you don't have to tell me how. No, but
from a manifesto
I need you to tell me how you are going to make it better.
How is it going to make it better?
Yes.
All right.
How?
The UDP will be having a manifesto launch, hopefully on Saturday, and then you will get the plan as to where the next UDP government intends to take this country to make this country better.
So it's not obsolete.
No,
it's not obsolete. That you are making one.
I am saying.
You're hoping that going forward,
right,
it's
exactly.
going to be obsolete.
Going forward,
so I have a question also looking at what you could possibly put in this manifesto, but more so specific. In 2020, the people of Belize sent a very strong message to both parties.
Right.
And after 3 terms, and the UDP had been running strong for 3 terms statistically, it was one of the biggest losses in, So my question then is, what is the lesson the party learned from that loss? And what assurances do the Belizean people have that if they put your faith back into the UDP, that the reasons that they voted against the UDP will not bring itself into fruition going forward? Because it was a clear indication that they were dissatisfied with the current government. So I know that young voters are asking this question, what has changed from the UDP? It's very easy to look at the PUP's track record right now, and they would argue and say that they had an uphill climb, and the UDP being in power for so long, knowing how the machine is actually oiled, know how maybe we could have done this different, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what's different outside of the leader changing?
This current UDP is coming to the people with lots of new faces.
Which one of them are you talking about?
Any one of them, sir.
But
there's a vast majority of new candidates in this new UDP, whatever faction you might want to take it. And you see, we know that there are people who harp on the factions of the UDP. The bottom line is that 31 UDPs will be running in these elections, maybe more than 31. 31 UDPs. At the end of the day, of course, 31 persons will be running. And at the end of the day, we're hoping that a new government is formed in this country.
Okay.
We have tried one set of politicians. Life has not been better for the Belizean people.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're hoping that a new set of faces that they could come together and improve the standards of living for the Belizean people, because I want to reiterate.
I have to wrap up.
Okay.
Is a reconciliation in place? Is a reconciliation on the road before the 12th?
It is just like what we had planned previously. The National Party Council of the United Democratic Party met in August of 2022. The decision was made that we were going into government under the leadership, we are going into elections, the next general elections under the leadership of the Honorable Shine Barrow. Okay. Somewhere down the road, that was changed. Because that decision was made because we knew that whatever difficulties existed within the UDP, it would have been cured by an election. And we are hoping that this is going to be the same thing. Nothing has changed. So, if the majority of UDPs are elected on the 12th of March, the UDP is going to form the next government.
Suppose it's 9-9 and you have 18 and it's 9 and 9. What's going to happen? How you going to pick the Prime Minister? But is well, answer the question.
That's why I'm saying that.
But you did not answer the question. Yes or no? Because we're out of time.
Yes, we're out of time.
Is the reconciliation on the road?
Of course.
Is it on the road?
The UDP has to reconcile.
No. For the 12th. Is the reconciliation on the road?
I don't see any reconciliation before 12th.
Good.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Albert, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you have a lot of work to do. Elections are coming, and we wish you all the very, very best of luck. We are going to hear on nomination day the entire slate of the UDP.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To have been here with you guys.
Awesome. And we want to also keep having our viewers on social media to engage with us using hashtag POWA 2025. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Ms. Dominique Morales, who will be giving us the youth perspective.
New electronic passport in 2022 through the launch of the Electronic Passport Issuance and Control System, EPICS. The e-passport includes an electronic chip that safeguards the holder's personal information and photograph. It also features a verification mechanism compatible with biometric systems such as smart gates at international borders. The passport's design reflects national pride, showcasing Belizean landmarks and symbols. It incorporates 26 modern security elements to prevent fraud and corruption. The introduction of the e-passport aims to enhance security, improve processing efficiency, and reduce application backlogs, benefiting Belizeans both domestically and abroad. The Ministry of Immigration, strengthening national sovereignty, security, and socio-economic development.
This is my first time here.
Hopefully it's my last. My dear friends, here we are, all in our true colors. Your transfer papers, your key to the Mvule Kingdom.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I know.
Here are your clippers. Clippers.
Hussein, we are perfect. We run this place. So let's act like it.
Solomon, the head prefect, quick. Is my collar straight?
We'll be out of Mvule High before you can pronounce the word scholarship.
We have a mystery to solve. The only way we can make a difference is if we stick together.
When I'm head prefect, each and every student will have a voice.
You need to show that news quick, Mvule.
I hate this school! Freedom to grow.
The CB100 is efficient, durable, and has enhanced smart power. Being a Honda, of course, it's reliable and fuel efficient. Get around town with no worries because you get up to 100 miles to the gallon. And it's priced at an unbeatable $2,700. Honda CB100, available at Benquick. Equipment, parts, service.
Thank you for joining POWA and the People. Our second guest for tonight is Ms. Dominique Norales, and she is a youth leader and advocate. Good night, Ms. Dominique.
Good night.
We're going to be focusing on our young voters tonight. And of course, we were talking about social media, new ideas that pop up. This is where everybody is apparently getting all their information on now. And so, for you and what you've been observing in your circle, in your area, you're of course also head of the LIU. Wonderful initiative and good job, by the way.
Thank you.
What are you seeing that is driving youths to the polls or not driving the youths to the polls?
I think the previous conversation kind of reminded us of the systemic issues that exist. I find there's just a lot of confusion, and this will be my first general elections voting. The 2020, I wasn't home.
Okay.
And so this is, and then the one before that when I wasn't old enough.
Okay.
So this one will be my first general elections, and I mean it's very disheartening to see major political parties. I mean it's both encouraging because you know that things deconstruct and reconstruct because things change. But it's also very disheartening because we live in a two-party system, and so that becomes a bit much for people to grasp. And then it's just we have to. I think most voters are very confused, and they will go for what the system has taught them to go for, which is whoever the clientelism that we always talk about, right? Who get the opportunity, who said I get their thing. And we are very much enticed by what we get before elections, the shiny things. And then we're not encouraged to interrogate the systematic issues that have us in the position of having to be beneficiaries, quote unquote, of clientelism.
Before we move on, we posed a poll to our viewers earlier in the day, asking if they will show up or stay home for this year's general election. Look at these numbers. And of course, this is not a scientific poll. Of course, we posted on our News Live Facebook page. But these are people who may or may not be going to the polls.
That's a lot of votes.
That is a
that's our entire constituency
that is
in some places.
And you know, actually, that's also in line with some of the numbers that I saw from other pages that did online polls on this.
And you know, that's what people are saying on the streets. This time, I'm probably not going to go and vote. What do you think about this?
I think sometimes, well, people, again, the two-party system tells you that, well, one party is seemingly disintegrating, and another party is seemingly in its flourishing era. According to some, according to them.
Seemingly.
And so, well, people will think, okay, well, there's only one option anyway. And so my vote may not make a difference. I know, well, for example, I am registered in Lake Independence. My vote, going or not going, may not make a difference. I know the courier might disagree. But he has been one of the persons who has won by very large margins. So people may feel like, okay, well, it doesn't matter.
He's not going to miss Dominique.
You're not miss my vote. But I think that the situation, the conundrum people have, and the disillusionment that people have. Two-party system, one disintegrates, and only one stands.
But so we want to compare this poll to what voters were seeing in the 2020, before the 2020 general election. So we're going to cue that poll up now to see what the contrast or comparison was. There it is. Look at that. So these this is a turnout, sorry. So yes, this is actual turnout of voters that went out for the 2020. seeing this and seeing that the total votes casted. Yes, go ahead.
No,
Harold.
so here's the thing with the poll. It's not scientific, and I'm not going to. No. But what it might be saying, if you could want to interpret it in some way. By the way, congratulations on your scholarship.
Thank you.
Yes, you're going to make us proud, and we're ready. Yeah. So thank you. Wonderful. Very happy about that. Thank you. But what it may be telling us, if it wanted to tell us something, is that the people who may have gone to vote for the UDP are mad, confused, or mad, and so they're the ones saying, "No, I won't go." Right? No, I'm just saying it may not bode well for.
Yeah.
It won't bode well for turnout overall, but it won't bode well. May not bode well for the.
I don't know I don't know how turnout will look this year. I don't know. I just have a feeling that it will be lower than it usually is, or lower than the 5-year average.
I mean, even the municipal election was a little bit low.
Well, no, it wasn't as, but it wasn't as. It wasn't a record low. It wasn't record low. It was in keeping with how it's always been.
How it's always been. Okay.
Yeah, it might be a little higher. Anyway, but let me ask you about youth vote. So I was a youth once.
Yes,
we all were. Harold, what are you talking about?
Surprise! I wasn't born.
Surprise!
I wasn't born like this.
According to UNESCO, I'm not.
Yeah. No, but seriously, I mean, and I remember it being a time of my friends, my cohort in school, particularly in sixth form, not so much in high school, particularly in sixth form, being extremely politically aware and very active. But the reason I bring it up is not because I think we were better or anything, but the question is that we did not have more political education in schools than we do now. We did not. What we had were parents who were involved, and that sort of synergy at school with people together and us interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And so that set up the loose camps. Like there were people who were UDP and people who were PUP, and some people were factions of one and support of, you know. So, but it wasn't because we were so, you know, aware of the Constitution and how things worked, and we just were interested in politics, in government and the way things were going, right? And there was a lot of talk. So why is there seemingly less of that now?
I think that has to do a lot with socioeconomics. People are so focused on the survival, right? Well, and then a lot of young people are engaged in employment where there's no time to engage in political conversation. You go to work, you go home, you wake up at school, if you are in school. So there's and school is a place that I think we have to encourage these political discussions outside of teaching the two-party system, and even the way our National Assembly is set up. It's very adversarial. So there's no room for any mental picture of anything other than one or the other. And so that's a part of it as well. The social media aspect, while I know that there are a lot of people, such as them sitting next to me, who have a lot of conversations that are very fruitful. Sometimes there are disagreements, which is good. There's always room. No democracy can work without dissent, right? And dissent is and disagreement is an important part of coming to this synthesis of what we want our social contract and our political contracts to look like. I don't know if a lot of times the social media creates silos of people who agree with each other. Right. So no one's willing to have a disagreement, and when a disagreement comes up in this Belizean society,
it's turned into a war.
Goes into personal it kind of depends on that. Tell me how you feel like, and then
it gets emotional, it gets personal.
Rather
than
no
solutions being hashed out.
But one of these, when we had a discussion about voting patterns and why people vote in the last show, one of the things was family influence, right?
Right.
So you as a young voter, this is the first time you're going to vote in general elections. Why are you engaged and willing to go out there despite the environment
and I also
and vote?
I want to toss that question to our viewers that are watching us right now on social media, because they are active, but they're not asking us questions. They're more giving us what they think, their comment, their opinions. And I think for this show to run with all of us having this conversation, you need to tell us what you really think, and two, do you have questions for us? Because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a dialogue,
a back and forth.
We're just here to pose the conversation to you all. Dominique?
I'm very encouraged by the last conversation I think you had with Mr. Enriquez. I think people having the courage to stand up like that, even if people think it's late, even if with our technicality, people need to see that, that people have courage to do that. So that, for me, made me want to do a protest not voting. Right? Okay. But I also understand that voting is important. I sit at several intersections. I'm young, I'm black, I'm a woman. And so many people in history did not have that privilege.
Very true.
And so I don't want to give up that franchise so easily because of the singular point of the political participation that comes with voting. And I also just want to mention that I want not just young people to understand that democratic participation is not only about the election day. Democratic participation, the election day is a culmination of all of the participation that should be happening even before an election day.
Can you say that again? Just repeat that.
Yes, but it's like what you said. It's like what you said last show, where we have a shallow democracy, where we have an election.
Focus for a few weeks,
and then after that, there's not much check and balances or whatever.
And there's not much focus. And again, I go back to Ms. Williams' profession. You are in the business of creating narratives, and political parties are masters at creating narratives. And so this, I think, is the time where people should pay attention to media a bit less, but also be able to I think, break down the conversations that are coming out. You will notice how the social media of many politicians has drastically changed over the last week. Right?
Oh, yes.
How the ads that run during primetime news has drastically changed. The availability of politicians has also increased because everybody wants to be seen now. Everybody has ideas now. Everyone has the courage to say, this is what we want to do. Some people are still a bit confused about what they want to say to people, right?
Indeed. I mean, we
don't have a manifesto.
No, but but as frivolous as it sounds, having this conversation just about what color you're going to have on your ballot, that tells you already what we truly are thinking about when it comes to voting. It tells you how
archaic the political system is.
It is. Absolutely.
But the thing, the color thing is symbolic. The fight over the color is symbolic of the fight for the leadership of the party. Because on the ballot doesn't have the party name. It has the color representing the party.
Right.
That's what the voter is associates, right? To associate. And it's fine, it's good. But that's what it really represents, that leadership fight that they're having.
But you're more
what do you think about the leader? You are, as a younger person,
before we get into that, because we're talking about engaging our audience and making sure that they're talking to us, we also saw some of the comments that were under some of these polls that we just pulled.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And so I would really like for us to pull some of those comments up on the screen so that we can see what voters are actually thinking. Yes, so of course, it's their right to vote. Of course. But do you, like you rightfully said, you understand why it's your right to vote? You have this other one that says, hope the ones will stay home. The
that goes back to this idea. Sorry, I'm raising my voice.
No, go ahead, please. Please use your voice.
That goes back to this idea that you only matter because of that one vote. Your voice matters
all the time.
All the time. And you can democratically participate and civically participate all the time.
If you don't go out and vote, someone else will decide for you about the future of this country, right? And I 100% agree with that. I always feel like, I'm the star of my own show, right? And no pun intended, right? But I always feel like it's needed on a stop it. I love it. Not voting will guarantee the PUP to get in. Wow. Even if the party no win, let's try raking as much seats as possible.
Good approach.
What do you think?
Good approach. I think that's a good approach. We talked about it last time. We've had many times in elections, we've had multiple seats decided by less than 10% of the vote. And in our elections, because the numbers are so small, 10% is less than 100.
Well, the last comment there was that I don't care which party wins, and I don't care for any of the persons.
And see, that apathy is what I am most concerned about. And I even wondered, because you mentioned, Harold, about when you were in sixth form and how you guys were so politically aware.
But they were apathetic students. They were.
No, of course,
They had a lot
of course. But even hearing stories from that time, the energy was much different in Belize around politics, because I could recall my mom talking about them marching freely. POWA 10th day, you can't get me to go out the
Oh God, we used to march every time.
So I would
really go line up the march.
I vex so much the 21st.
But would we say that among the younger Belizeans, that sense of national pride isn't there, and is that trickling over into?
I think it.
For me, I'm very, very proud to have been born here. Like, I would not have rathered any other citizenship. So I don't think people aren't proud. I think, like I said, people are preoccupied with the material, the survival, and like if I hungry or if I have to worry about pay, I feel like I don't have no time for no discussions at the table, and even the people at the table at night.
This last person says that they're gonna go fishing on the election day, and that's because this administration called it as a holiday.
Yes. Is that the first time?
It's the first time, yes, because normally persons would have to get the opportunity out of their job.
It wasn't last 2020, wasn't it?
No, it was no, I was working. Where were you?
Just from the holiday.
No, it was not. But this one is going to be the first holiday.
Some countries have elections on a Sunday.
Yes, so that everybody can come out and
to avoid that. No holiday,
but even though they made it a public and bank holiday, we have a large amount of our young voters who are in the BPO industry, and Belizean holidays have no bearing on their work schedule.
We have 11,500 people working in BPOs.
How much?
11,500 or 12,000 people.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Is that just the persons who are the operators, or is that like the security, the cleaner?
No. She's talking about people who won't have the time, right? Cleaners will probably have the time.
No, but maybe because.
But they're supposed to give them the time. They have to give them the time.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we should make it very clear that even if you're a young voter listening in, and I can't, my boss not give me the time off.
Have to. By law.
By law, they have to give you the time off.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
And that's why
and you're not
polls
an
open at 6
essential
in the
worker.
morning.
But you can't. But you
Campaigns start from 3 a.m., baby.
That's why. But I'm just saying the polls open at 6 in the morning. Somebody that used to work for
hours.
I would always go in at like 7 right before going to work. Yes. I go in, cast my vote. Barely people are there, so I get it over with, and then I go and do.
But I think it's incumbent on us to make the effort somehow.
But as we are here talking about youth and youth engagement and having this conversation with Dominique, we took it to the streets again to ask our voters what kind of politician do to engage the youth vote, to engage our young people. So here's what they had to say.
We should have more meetings and get to know more, them people, not just only when election you go and you try get familiar with them. I think it should be something they do often, because people go through that. And we not only need help when election, we need help all year long. And if you have the communication and a relationship with whosoever they serve,
they have to talk to them, then they have to give the good as places that they have to
public spaces or
make them explain to them what is the situation in a country and how they will manage it, and why they have to participate, why they have to choose the correct people for direct management.
Ask them what is the problem, so like that the people can open and talk to the people, understand, and then you can send the news, this and that, you understand? But sometimes some people don't like to talk.
And that would help you to make better decisions?
Yes. Oh. Because when you talk the truth, it's good, but sometimes they lie. Like they said this and do this, and when you say they don't do it.
Well, for advise the people as one. That one, advise the people, put them on the right track. Tell them really the benefit out of everything what they do. Make them on the right road or everything for the future wise though.
That is better if you come and speak with the people and know what the people think.
Yeah.
Because you could post a lot of things in Facebook, but nobody will answer you.
Okay.
When you speak with the people will tell you what they think about the politics.
Thoughts?
So I like that everyone, well, for the most part, mentioned that we need to have more conversations. And I think a lot of the times things get lost in translation generationally.
Yes.
So if we could maybe touch on this a little bit, because you have majority of the younger electorate making up of millennials and Gen Z. And then you have Gen X and you have your boomer community. And even outside of a conversation about election, there is always a gap between how these two understand each other or lack thereof.
That's true.
And I think I learned about the electoral process from my elders.
Okay.
And I'm an older millennial. Gosh.
I'm an older millennial too.
I'm an older millennial.
You can't relate, Dominique.
and
I won't say where I fall in.
But as you rightfully mentioned, Harold, the last show that people vote like with families.
Yes.
Could maybe the message is it getting lost in translation because of the generational divide then? People don't want to listen to Granny?
Maybe. Well,
are they talking to Granny?
Real.
Yeah.
Because maybe family dynamics have shifted.
Yeah.
And I didn't do the research before I came on the show, but our registration information, is it disaggregated by age? Do we know?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Do we know how many?
Actually, you have the majority of registered voters being women between the ages of 25 and 35.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, women vote.
So my demographic.
Women vote. No, women vote. We are, and I think
Women
that's
vote and
a
women do a lot of the
global.
political work.
That's
Yes.
a global.
And it's you know
Women
what
do the
irked
political
me?
work.
The fact that we make up the majority of the persons who go to the polls, but we only have how many women running in these elections?
Did we say
with political parties breaking their own constitution as it relates to the women quota in their parties?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you, I am all in favor of having more women in things, but within the party structures and their convention structures, are there that people are running?
Yeah.
Are women putting themselves up to be standard bearers and men are being picked instead of? Is that what?
Okay.
Is that?
Well,
No, I'm just asking.
Okay, well, no, guys, we really have to wrap.
That's an important question.
That is an important question for another time.
Dominique,
please, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Of course,
Give
my
us
pleasure.
your final remarks as we wrap up.
Please go vote. I know I had a conversation about my apprehensions, but please go to vote. Please understand as well, again, your civic participation, your civic rights don't only matter on an election day. It matters when your street broke up. It matters when your dollar van broke up. It matters when
You throw paper up on the ground.
when they throw paper on the ground. It matters all the time.
Yes.
So learn how to reach to your politicians and learn how to utilize this little device that we all have, or most of us have, to agitate and have conversations that aren't always about me liking you liking me, but us having conversations about how to make this country the best place in which to raise a family, and a place that we can be even more proud of outside of our birthright.
Dominique Morales, thank you so much for
Thank you for
joining
having
us.
me.
Congratulations
Big
once
up.
again
Yes.
on your scholarship.
Thank you.
We wish you the very best of luck. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be having our final thoughts. And of course, remember, viewers, to call us at 820-0016 for your comments and questions. We'll be right back.
February is all about Honda. Get special pricing and discounts on all Honda products. Enjoy up to 25% off select Honda products and 20% off Honda parts. Don't forget your B-Bucks whenever you make your purchase. There will also be a bike rally throughout the streets of Belize City, Blue Creek, and Spanish Lookout on February 8th, 15th, and 22nd respectively. All participants will get free oil change. Check out our Facebook page for more details. Love your Honda. It's all about deals and discounts on Honda products throughout the month of February. Only at Benquip Equipment Parts Service.
This is my first time here.
Hopefully it's my last. My dear friends, here we are, all in our true colors. Your transfer papers, your key to the Mvule Kingdom.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I know.
Here are your clippers. Clippers. Who's in? We are prefects. We run this place. So let's act like it.
Solomon, the head prefect, quick. Is my collar straight?
We'll be out of Mvule High before you can pronounce the word scholarship.
We have a mystery to solve. The only way we can make a difference is if we stick together.
When I'm head prefect, each and every student will have a voice.
You need to show that news quick, Mvule.
I hate this school!
Freedom to grow.
Belize introduced its new electronic passport in 2022 through the launch of the Electronic Passport Issuance and Control System, EPICS. The e-passport includes an electronic chip that safeguards the holder's personal information and photograph. It also features a verification mechanism compatible with biometric systems such as smart gates at international borders. The passport's design reflects national pride, showcasing Belizean landmarks and symbols. It incorporates 26 modern security elements to prevent fraud and corruption. The introduction of the e-passport aims to enhance security, improve processing efficiency, and reduce application backlogs, benefiting Belizeans both domestically and abroad. The Ministry of Immigration, strengthening national sovereignty, security, and socio-economic development.
Thank you for tuning in to POWA and the People, and thank you so much for joining us and our contributors tonight. The phone lines are open, so please call 280-0016 to ask your questions and give us your comments on what you're thinking about this election zero. That's 280-0016. But we have some time to Harold and Demi to discuss some of the myths that are buzzing this election season. We talked about them earlier in the show. Today we had the conversation with our guests as well. So for us here tonight, Harold, what are the key battleground constituencies to watch this election season?
Well, thank you, April. So one of the reasons why I picked some of these constituencies is not because we're trying to predict who's winning, but we want to look at why it's interesting. And let's start with the Albert. And keep in mind that when I give these numbers, that we can't make all of the allowances for things like transferring votes and transferring out voters rather. So in Albert, we have Tracy Panton for the UDP Alliance section of the UDP, and we have Kaya Kudu for the PUP, and we have Jose Espat for the Barrow wing of the UDP. And interesting enough, this is Tracy running again in her division, but in the last elections, in 2015, not last elections, in 2015, she won by 342 votes, but in 2020, she won by 41 votes. 41 votes. So when you then think about that, as does that have any impact? Because we need to ask ourselves. And then the other factor is Jose Chu Espat, who ran before, but as a third-party candidate, and I think he got about 50 votes, 47, 40, 50 or something like that. And now he's running on the UDP banner, or Mr. Barrow's banner. Question is, if he gets more votes, does that have any effect on the outcome? Collett, not much of a shift in the votes, but there was a drop in the votes from 15 to 20 in the margin for Patrick Farber. But I like to highlight this one because Devin Daly is new and he's young, and we keep talking about young people getting
into politics.
So let's see how he does.
Yes.
He's been on the ground too.
He's been on the ground. Let's see what his showing is like. Mesopotamia, we have of course Moses Shine Barrow, but this is important. he took over the constituency from Michael Finnegan. Michael Finnegan won 2015 by 988 votes. He won by 159. So that shows a steep drop. And is that
and
going
that
to be
was
a
also
factor?
during kind of like the 2020 was an assault on the then incumbent. So
Yes.
could we lend those numbers to that?
Yes, and that's what we're saying. So the question is, does he pick up votes to strengthen, to build on that 159?
Right.
Or does the POP surge that led to the drop from 900 and something to the 159, does that hold and encourage Mr. Lawrence? Again, a new person on the scene, like to see that. And then, of course, we have Lee Mark Chan. Lee Mark Chan, right? Who was the Caribbean shows before. He's experienced. He's a
no stranger
to politics, and is, as far as we can tell, doing a lot of work.
He's on the ground.
Right? So we got to see how that will play out.
And I'm looking at that margin, Harold, and I'm thinking, like, we've already been talking about how two different factions in one constituency can harm the voting, right?
And yes, because a lot of times when people say the word split, they're thinking about 50-50. It doesn't have to be 50-50. It just means that you won't get all of what you would have gotten under normal circumstances.
Yes. From my perspective, and maybe I'm, tell me how far off I am. I think that the fact that you have these constituencies having one for the UDP Shine, UDP Tracy, it's kind of like a report card on either faction, depending to see what faction grabs up that many seats.
That's why I'm picking these. That's another reason. That's an excellent point. That's why we're picking these constituencies as well. Because in the final, in the aftermath, when the countings are done, and they are trying to organize themselves, they will use that. If one person wins and one person wins, or if one person wins by 500 and one wins by 200, and say, well, listen, I won by more than you.
Exactly. Well, we just reviewed two constituencies that have two factions in one party, but let's go over to Port.
Yeah, we'll get the Queen Square. I want to highlight Queen Square because we're talking about women. Queen Square has a new person, woman in Queen Square, and we have 3. So again, that's always interesting. And of course, Sister B, Denise Barrow, who she won by 321 votes when she ran. But when her brother was there, when the Prime Minister Dean Barrow was there in 2015, he won by 1,758.
And he had been consistently making those
huge numbers. Huge numbers. Okay. Port Loyola, we have 4. We have the incumbent Gilroy Usher. We have Anthony Booth Martinez, no stranger. We're not sure which UDP he is, but
he is a UDP.
He's a UDP.
He's a UDP, but neither faction.
Neither faction
loyal to
so
any
that's
faction.
3. So that's 3.
Yes.
And then we have Philip Willoughby. Again, he hasn't won elections, but no stranger to.
He was running the last time.
Yeah, he ran it last time.
Yes.
And then we have Thelma Mortis. Again, not new.
Because she
ran
was
before.
the UDP mayoral candidate.
So she's been in politics before, but again, a woman involved. We love that.
We love to see that.
We love representation.
Yes.
Corozal North, Hugo Pat, and David Castillo. This is a 3-time matchup with these two. 3 times these two, right? The first time, this is the 3rd time. The first time, Hugo Pat won by 474 votes. The second time, he won by 916 votes in 2020. So unlike the others, his margin went up.
Yeah.
Right? But again, David Castillo, again, it's a 3rd-time matchup. David Castillo comes from a political lineage family. His father was a minister and representative for that area. So interesting to watch. Also, he holds some of the key with the leadership in the UDP.
Wow.
Right? He has a part of the leadership key to who he supports, right?
Indeed.
He's a Shine Barrow UDP right now. And then 2 more. Kaya West, Michelle Shabat, Ramon Figueroa. Again, another matchup.
Another matchup.
Actually, I think this this is another matchup.
Yes.
And the last time in 2015, Ramon Figueroa beat Michelle Shabat by 195 votes. But in 2020, Michelle beat Mrs. Figueroa by 855 votes. So again, the matchup is nice. I mean, we like it. We see the people matching up again.
Omar Figueroa?
Omar Figueroa, Dr. Figueroa has, with the UDP leadership dynamic thing, he started out as supporting Shine Barrow, and then he changed to Tracy. And then changed back to Pine. Will that affect how people perceive him? That's up to be seen.
What the voters say.
And then the last one is Belize Rural Central. And this is the only one where we have two women.
Two women.
Two women.
We love to
see
it.
It's been a matchup before, right?
In 2020.
In 2015, no, before that. In 2015, Beverly Castillo won by 58 votes. And in 2020, Dolores Balanos Garcia won by 1,234 votes.
Wow.
Both of them political lineage again. Dolores is the niece of George Price, and Beverly Castillo, I believe, is related to Philip Golson.
Wow.
That is
Look at that legacy
yes, so
of
this
these
is-
women.
And then you have, isn't Mr. Almendares also running in that area?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on that ours. But
Wow.
this is exciting, and it has a lot of interesting factors going on, and so
You know what?
that's why we're touching.
I have to say that tonight's show was quite entertaining.
And
if you
previous
would say,
upcoming attractions for sure.
and very, very educational. I have to always remember that I'm here moderating because I'm listening and I'm like, wow, I'm very, very in tune. But thank you both so much for joining us again and contributing your thoughts. Of course, for all of our viewers and voters that are having the conversation with us on social media, thank you so much for joining us. I've been watching it. It's picking up momentum. You know, the comment section is booming. Thank you all so much. Ask your questions, and of course, using the hashtag POWA2025 so that we can see you, we can hear you, and call us at 280-0016 to have the conversation with us and our guests. But thank you so much. That is a wrap for tonight's POWA and the People. Thank you for joining us. From all of us here at Channel 5 Live, have a good night. Remember, you have the power to shape Belize's future. Have a good night.
POWA and the People, Democracy of the Airways on Channel 5. Sponsored by Pennies, serving Belize for over 74 years. The Ministry of Immigration, managing migration for the security and socio-economic benefit of Belize.